It is 2:14 a.m. You are sitting perfectly still, bathed in the blue light of a screen. To an outside observer, you are at rest. But inside, your shoulders are at your ears, your jaw is clenched, and your blood is saturated with the chemistry of fighting for your life. This is the sympathetic nervous system. In our ancestral past, it functioned as a biological flare gun, a high-intensity burst of energy designed for one purpose: immediate physical survival. When a predator appears, your amygdala detonates. The adrenal glands hurl cortisol into the bloodstream, digestion shuts down, and blood shunts to the large muscles. For approximately 90 seconds, you become a temporary superhero. This biological alarm was a masterpiece of evolution. It was designed to save you from a crisis, but it was also designed with a clear endpoint. It was supposed to just turn off. We can see the intended cycle in animals on the African savanna. Once a lion leaves the area, a zebra will literally shake the adrenaline out of its body and immediately return to eating grass. The threat is over, and the physiology follows suit. Humans, however, possess the unique ability to replay the lion attack for 40 years. We carry the memory of the threat in our muscles and eventually begin to call this state of chronic indigestion our personality. Robert Sapolsky's research on wild baboons confirmed the heavy cost of this retention. In hierarchies where social threats never fully resolve, the primates become physiological wrecks. Their bodies mirror the state of constant, unresolved panic that many of us now experience as a typical Tuesday. If the physical predators are gone, why did the tiger never leave our nervous system? The shift occurred because we invented something no other animal possesses: abstract threat. We learned how to fear outcomes that haven't happened and disaster scenarios that don't yet exist. The agricultural revolution introduced the concept of the future. Suddenly, there was grain to lose, status to maintain, and a reputation to protect. The amygdala, a loyal but dim-witted bodyguard, began firing at the idea of loss with the same intensity it once reserved for visible quas. As we built cities, our survival became tied to social acceptance. In a small tribe, rejection meant death. Today, your nervous system still cannot tell the difference between a frown on a Zoom call and a spear in the ribs. This vulnerability was eventually monetized. A calm human buys what they need, but an anxious human buys what they hope will finally quiet the tiger. The modern economy is built largely on the monetization of an unsoothed nervous system. Our environment evolved to trigger our biology constantly, turning a 90-second survival tool into a chronic, profitable baseline. When fight or flight becomes your factory setting, the body begins to break down with mechanical cruelty. This is a visualization of heart rate variability, or HRV, the measure of the dance between your stress and rest systems. When chronic stress takes over, this dynamic waveform collapses into a rigid, flat monologue. In the brain, the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for complex thought, begins to shrink under constant cortisol exposure. Simultaneously, the amygdala hypertrophies, growing larger and more reactive, like a muscle that is never allowed to relax. The default mode network, which should quiet down when you are present, instead runs endless simulations of self-referential problems. This loop of me and my problems is a dragon eating its own tail. Down in the torso, inflammatory markers rise and the immune system begins attacking its own host. The enteric nervous system, the second brain in your gut, goes into permanent lockdown, leading to chronic physical and spiritual constriction. This state is often inherited. Epigenetic markers for hypervigilance can be written into our DNA by the traumas of our ancestors. What we call an anxiety disorder is frequently the uncompleted scream of a previous generation still trying to finish its stress cycle. We have managed to turn the most sophisticated nervous system on Earth into a smoke detector with a dying battery that screams at every passing cloud. It is easy to look at the shrinking structures and the systemic inflammation and conclude that the system is broken. But your body is actually doing exactly what it was designed to do. It is adapting to a high-threat environment. Because this state is an adaptation, it is not a life sentence. The body is desperate to return to a state of coherence, and the biology of the brain remains remarkably malleable. This is visible in MRI studies from researchers like Sarah Lazar. These scans show that a few hundred hours of properly executed meditative training begin to physically reverse the damage of chronic stress, shrinking the amygdala and restoring the prefrontal cortex. This internal fire can be turned from something that destroys the house into something that warms it. Before you can update the software, you must first notice the glitch as it is happening in the flesh. Try a practice called the Tiger Census. For 7 days, set a timer for every 90 minutes. Each time it sounds, don't reach for your phone. Instead, wait for your body's honest reply to one question. Where is the tiger right now? Look for the physiological tiger. Is your pelvic floor lifted? Is your breathing trapped in your chest? Have you mistaken a constant vibration of readiness for the feeling of being awake? You will likely be horrified by how often the tiger is entirely imaginary. But in that specific realization, seeing the smoke instead of mistaking it for the sky, the ancient grip of the alarm finally